Sophia was born on May 2nd, 1729, in a small German town called Stettin. Her family belonged to the noble class, but they were not rich. Their home had high, quiet walls and simple rooms. Her father was a strict man who cared deeply about honor and duty. Her mother was full of ambition and dreams for Sophia's future. From a young age, Sophia felt both the weight of her family's expectations and a spark of her own curiosity. Every day, Sophia would sit by her bedroom window, where soft light fell across a small wooden table. On that table lay her favorite books. She read stories about brave heroes who saved kingdoms and wise queens who ruled with fairness. When she closed her eyes, she imagined herself in those tales. She saw grand castles, colorful banners, and people cheering her name. In those moments, her heart felt light and free. One evening, as snow fell gently outside, Sophia made a promise to herself. She whispered, "One day I will do something great. I do not know what it will be, but I will try my best." This promise became her secret guide. It gave her courage when she felt small and alone. In the quiet of her room, she wrote the words in her journal and drew a tiny crown above them. Life at home was calm but safe. Sophia learned French, practiced dancing, and studied religion with her tutors. They told her she was smart and full of potential. Still, she often felt restless. She wanted to see the world beyond Stettin's walls. She longed for new sights, new sounds, and new friends. Her room felt both cozy and too small for all the dreams in her head. Then, one day, everything changed. Sophia's mother received an elegant letter from Empress Elizabeth of Russia. The Empress was seeking a young, noble bride for her nephew, Prince Peter. The letter said Sophia might become a princess in a great foreign land. When her mother read these words aloud, Sophia's hands trembled. Her heart beat fast with excitement and fear. She looked around her simple room, wondering if she would ever return. Packing for such a journey was not easy. Sophia and her mother gathered their warmest clothes and the most precious books. They said quiet goodbyes to relatives who wished them well, but also shed silent tears. The carriage ride to Russia felt endless. Snowy forests passed by like white ghosts. Empty fields stretched under gray skies. At night, under a blanket of stars, Sophia could not sleep. She thought about the Winter Palace, the prince, and the Empress. She wondered what they would be like, and whether she would fit into a new world. When they arrived in St. Petersburg, Sophia gasped at the city's beauty. Carriages trotted along wide streets lined with tall buildings. People wore bright clothes trimmed with fur. Steam rose from hot foods sold by street vendors. Everything seemed larger and more alive than anything Sophia had known. She and her mother were led through the gates of the Winter Palace, where walls shone with gold and chandeliers hung like stars. Inside the palace, servants dressed in fine uniforms guided them through vast halls. Sophia's footsteps echoed on marble floors. Soft music drifted through open doors. Finally, they met Empress Elizabeth. The Empress was kind but spoke with authority. She looked at Sophia with thoughtful eyes and said, "She is young and pretty. She will do." Sophia bowed deeply and felt a mix of relief and hope wash over her. That night, Sophia lay on a silk bed, listening to the distant sounds of laughter and piano notes. She thought about her promise. She remembered the words she had written in her journal. Now, far from home, she felt the weight of her promise more than ever. She closed her eyes and whispered, "I will do something great." In the soft glow of a candle, she opened her journal once more and wrote the date. The day her new life began. When Sophia woke the next morning, she was no longer Sophia. Empress Elizabeth had given her a new name, Catherine. This name sounded strong and royal. Catherine learned that in her new home she must speak Russian. She studied simple words at first. Здравствуйте, she said softly. Hello? She bowed to the tutor and smiled, saying, Spasibo. Thank you. Each day she practiced these words again and again until they felt natural on her lips. Catherine's second lesson was to learn the ways of the Orthodox Church. She watched priests light candles and sing gentle hymns. At first, the new prayers and rituals felt strange to her. She whispered each phrase slowly, trying to remember them. Even though the gowns and ceremonies were heavy and formal, Catherine kept her promise to herself. She told her tutor, I will learn. I will try my best. This determination gave her courage when she felt out of place. On a chilly spring day in 1745, Catherine stood in a grand hall and married Prince Peter. She was 16 years old, and her dress was covered in jewels that sparkled like stars. As she walked down the aisle, her heart fluttered like a bird. Inside, she felt both excitement and nervousness. When Peter took her hand, she smiled, but his eyes were not warm. He seemed more interested in his own thoughts than in her bright gaze. Life with Peter was not what Catherine had dreamed of. He spent hours playing with small toy soldiers on the palace floor. He directed mock battles and shouted excited orders. Catherine tried to join his games, hoping to share a laugh, but Peter barely noticed her. He spoke little, and his thoughts seemed far away. In those quiet moments, Catherine felt lonely. The sounds of the palace, laughter, music, dancing, felt hollow without someone to share them. To fill her heart, Catherine returned to the palace library. She walked between tall shelves filled with leather-bound books. She found comfort in turning the pages and reading stories of wise rulers and brave leaders. Each night, by candlelight, she wrote letters to imaginary friends in faraway lands. She poured out her hopes, her fears, and her dreams on the paper. This secret practice helped her feel less alone. She even drew small sketches of new ideas for her life, mini plans that grew inside her mind. Catherine also looked for simple ways to build her future. She spoke quietly with the palace servants and guards, asking about their lives and their families. She listened to their stories of village winters and market days. Each conversation gave her pieces of the larger picture of life beyond the palace walls. She noted these details in her journal and promised herself that one day she would use this knowledge to serve her new country. A year after her wedding, Catherine received sad news. Her father had died suddenly in Germany. She closed her journal and wept alone in her room. The pain of loss weighed heavily on her heart. Yet even amid her sorrow, a quiet resolve took root. She whispered to herself, I will honor my family by being strong. Her grief became a source of new determination. She knew that returning home was impossible, but she could honor her father's memory by growing stronger in her new life. In the weeks that followed, Catherine found a surprising friend in a gentle court musician. He noticed her sadness and played soft melodies to soothe her spirit. She listened to his music and felt her heart grow calm. They spoke of home, of hope, and of new beginnings. Through their friendship, Catherine learned that kindness could lift even the heaviest sorrow. By the end of her second year in Russia, Catherine had changed more than she had ever thought possible. She spoke Russian with confidence. She understood the church prayers and courtesies of court life. She built quiet friendships and gathered small plans for her future. Though her marriage to Peter remained distant, Catherine's promise to herself shone brighter. In her journal, she wrote, I will do something great. I will find my path. And with each new dawn, She moved one step closer to making that promise come true. Catherine watched Peter's rule with growing worry. As emperor, he seemed careless and proud. He ignored the needs of his people and upset the nobles with strange decisions. Catherine knew that Russia needed a strong and thoughtful leader. One quiet morning before the sun rose, she slipped out of her chambers. In her hand, she carried a small silver locket from her childhood home in Germany. That locket reminded her of the promise she had made. "I will do something great." In a hidden room in the palace, General Orlov waited for her. His uniform was neat and his eyes were steady. Catherine looked at him and said, "The time has come." Together, they spoke in low voices about their plan. No one could know what they were plotting. Every word was measured, every step carefully chosen. Catherine felt a flutter of fear, but she held her head high. She knew she had to be brave for Russia. When the first light of dawn touched the winter sky, Catherine and her allies moved swiftly. Soldiers loyal to her gathered in the courtyard, their breath rising in white clouds. Catherine stepped forward and spoke with a calm, clear voice. "We fight not for me, but for Russia," she said. "We fight for a brighter future." The soldiers cheered, their voices echoing against the palace walls. In that moment, Catherine felt hope and power rise inside her chest. News of Catherine's actions spread through the city like wildfire. People came into the streets, watching as the palace gates opened for her. Shouts of "Catherine, Catherine" filled the air. Peter, still asleep in another palace, woke to messages of revolt. Panic swept over him as he realized his own soldiers had turned away. He fled in a carriage, trying to find safety, but no help came. Soon he was forced to sign a paper giving up the throne. Catherine was now Empress of Russia. As Empress, Catherine acted quickly to bring positive change. Her first royal decree was to open a school for noble girls at Smolny. She stood before a small group of children in bright dresses and said, "Every girl deserves a chance to learn." Her voice trembled with feeling, and some of the young students wiped tears of joy from their eyes. In their smiles, Catherine saw the power of education to shape the future. Catherine also faced a fear that swept across the country: smallpox. Many people were afraid to try the new vaccine. Some thought it was dangerous or against their beliefs. To show them it was safe, Catherine offered to be the first person inoculated. Doctors prepared the vaccine in a small room in the palace. Catherine sat calmly, holding her locket tightly. When the needle was ready, she nodded and said, "I trust this science." A moment later, the doctors were finished. Catherine smiled and walked out, showing her arm with only a small dot of red. Word spread quickly that the Empress had been brave. The people felt safer, and many more agreed to be vaccinated. Even as her reforms brought hope, Catherine sometimes felt alone. In the evenings, she would sit in her new chambers by the window. Stars sparkled above the palace gardens, and a light wind carried the scent of winter flowers. She held her silver locket and thought of home. She felt proud of what she had done, but she also missed her family and friends. The weight of the crown was heavy on her head and her heart. Catherine looked out at the quiet city and whispered, "Greatness feels heavy, but I carry it for Russia." In that moment, she knew that true leadership meant both strength and care. She understood that every choice would affect millions of lives. Before she rose from her seat, she asked herself a simple question: what would I carry for my own dream? Then she placed the locket back on her desk and took a deep breath. Catherine's journey had moved from a young girl's promise to a powerful ruler's actions. She had faced fear, risked everything, and shown kindness even in times of change. Her story reminds us that courage can inspire a nation. May her example guide you as you carry your own dreams forward, one brave step at a time. Catherine's story began as a young girl named Sophia in a small German town. From the first moment she read stories of brave heroes and wise queens, she carried a secret promise in her heart. One day I will do something great. When she left her home to travel through snow and cold, she learned new words, new customs, and a new name, Catherine. She married Prince Peter at 16 and faced loneliness in a grand palace full of echoing halls. Yet she did not give up. She studied, she listened, and she made small plans in her journal for how to help her new country. In 1762, Catherine took a bold step. With careful planning and trusted friends, she led a peaceful change of power that made her Empress of Russia. She used her first moments of rule to open schools, to share the life-saving smallpox vaccine, and to speak words of hope to children. Even when she stood alone by her window, holding a simple silver locket, she carried the courage of her promise forward. She understood that true leadership is both daring and caring. Over time, she ruled with vision, helped her people learn, and grew her empire's strength without losing her own kindness. The deep lesson of Catherine's life is that courage and compassion can walk hand in hand. When we make a promise to ourselves and learn every day, we can face fears with quiet strength. If we listen to others, whether they are friends, neighbors, or strangers, we gather the wisdom we need to help our communities. In your own life, you can choose one small step toward your dream, perhaps learning 5 new English words each day, volunteering to help someone in need, or standing up for what is right. Every small promise kept builds the path to something great. Congratulations! You have listened all the way through Catherine's journey, and your English listening skills have grown stronger. Now let's see what you remember. What did Catherine carry with her as a reminder of home when she planned the coup? A. A small silver locket. B. A golden key. Please comment A or B below to share your answer. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to our channel to support future content. Your support helps us keep making clear and inspiring English lessons for you. If you can, a small donation will help cover our costs and keep our work free for learners everywhere. Thank you for being with us and happy learning.